Wow.
And now, broadcasting live from deep within the borders of occupied liberal territory known as California, Luca Zanna with Love, Guns, and Freedom.
All systems go.
Don't tread on us. We're not afraid. You work for us. We're not your slaves. Don't tread on us. You cross the line. Soon you will pay for all your crimes. After a long train of abuses.
Hello everybody, here we go again. This is Luca Zanna and you're listening to Love, Guns and Freedom on K-Talks 1340 AM. As probably already you know, I'm an Italian by birth, so you understand the accent, an American by choice, and more important, right now, the last 8 years, I've been an Arizonan by gift of God. The purpose of this show is not to entertain, but my dream is to engage each other in the search for the truth with the goal to regain our lost liberties and take America back, starting from our local government. When I became an American, I took an oath to defend this republic and its constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic. Even I am a registered Republican, as probably many of you may know, I never pledged allegiance to a party or to a man or a woman, but to America and the idea of liberty and justice for all. So I believe in life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And I also believe that all human beings are unique and different. We are not all the same. But each other, we are different from each other, but we all have the same inalienable rights. And we all should be treated with equal respect. I also believe that government, it is not my God. Therefore, government does not own my body or my soul. It is not about left or right, as unfortunately I still see around, everybody cheering for their guy. It's not about Republicans or Democrats. It's about right or wrong, liberty or tyranny, truth or deception. I am against all forms of collectivism, socialism, fascism, because I believe in the potential of the individual. And yes, one person I really believe can make the difference. That's why I'm here. I'm trying my best to do my part. And I hope and pray with your help, we all can do it. Thank you for listening, Love, Guns, and Freedom. And right now we have a special guest from Bullhead. No, this is not even Bullhead. Fort Mohave, I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Mohave County Supervisor, District 5, Stephen Moss. Thank you, Supervisor.
Thank you, Luca.
Thank you very much. I want to thank you again because it's Sunday today. You're a family man. I know it's your time that you can have family in peace, but you come here and we appreciate it.
Yeah. I appreciate being offered. When I ran for election, I said if anyone wanted me to show up and speak somewhere, as long as my schedule allowed for it, I would show up and talk. And you asked me, so here I am. My kids are at a Play-Doh play date right now with some of their friends, so I actually had a few minutes, so it worked out.
Perfect. I want to just go straight to business. First of all, I never really had a chance to thank you in person, but I want to thank you and the other supervisor, without mentioning names right now, especially the new supervisors, that pretty much help to bring back the Bill of Rights to Mohave County. And let me just remind the public, the listeners, what happened. In Mohave County, on Mohave County property, the last few years, with the last supervisors, we were at the point that we were almost like some sort of martial law. I mean, seriously. Bottom line, remember that we didn't have, first of all, the dress code. Dress code that people don't need to understand that it's not just about dressing, it's about form of respect. I believe that the supervisor or any public servant should earn, not demand, with arresting people. For example, if my late friend, Jim Canellos, he set the example, he proved it, just because he did not want to remove his hat in front of other people, individuals that, I don't care because they are working for us and they're on top of a chair. They're still individual. We're supposed to be at least the same level. He got arrested. So you guys, thank you very much for, first of all, bringing us back to the dress code way that we can enjoy our freedom to be ourselves in the respect that you earn from us.
That was one of the first things we wanted to do. My take on it, already is a dress code. It's called the Public Indecency Laws.
Exactly.
If you're not wearing enough clothes that you can get arrested, well, that's on you.
Mm-hmm.
But when it comes to you as a constituent wanting to observe your government in action or ask question of your elected officials, whether you wear a ripped T-shirt, a hat, sandals, flip-flops, shorts, whatever, that's your decision to make. And I don't judge people based upon how they're dressed when they come up and talk to me. And if you're wearing a hat like you are right now, I don't interpret that as being a sign of disrespect. You're wearing a hat. That's not disrespectful. I think the prior administration's focus on things like that, it's an indication of their character and not very positive in my opinion.
And then of course you create this sort of antagonism. They always want to show who is boss. And if I want to go in that direction, if we really agree that the public servants, people that are working for the community, we are the employers. Okay?
You're the boss.
Yeah. So I don't want to mistreat anybody, but at the same time, wait a second, if I'm the boss, why should I remove my hat if I don't want to? Like tomorrow you are your own business, you want to say, hey, I'm the boss, I want to wear my hat. And of course I respect, when I go in a building, I'm trying to comply with the basic etiquette, but I like to think that people earn their respect.
And that's absolutely correct. And
so I want to thank you again because you entrust the people, and that was really wonderful. And step one.
Well, the dress code goes beyond just what you wear. They had prohibitions that you can't bring a sign in and say Steve Moss is a jerk, for example.
Mm-hmm.
You can't do that. That's gone now. You can. If you want to come up and protest something I've done, bring a sign. I think they have limitations because they don't want you crowding out 2 or 3 rows of seats.
Yes.
But you can hold up a sign saying, Steve's, you're doing a really bad job. And I have to look at you, since I'm the employee of the people, and say, that's your opinion, you're entitled to it.
And it's wonderful, I think, always with the respect, of course, that we need to be allowed to conduct business. But, for example, I remember when we had people that we were wearing T-shirts, that was pretty much, I'm talking about just, recall somebody or something. We were thrown out and tried to be arrested.
You should wear any T-shirt you like, and I think that the fact that it says recall someone is 100% political speech, and it is protected by the First Amendment.
Beautiful. So number one, I wanted to thank you about that. Then there's another important thing that has been very controversial the last few years, not just here, but all over the world, I guess, gun rights.
Correct.
That we are one of the few states in the world that we citizens, we don't need to ask for a permit, especially now to have a gun and to carry a gun. But what I think, I would like to remind the listeners, there is an Arizona state law that pretty much says that, correct me if I'm wrong, you're the lawyer here.
Okay.
Okay, that in a public building owned by the state, like for example the county, law-abiding citizen, if he or she wants to carry a gun, the county must give the option to check the gun in, like in a checkbox.
Correct.
And then, at that point, the gun owner must give the gun into the checkbox.
Correct.
Otherwise, if there is not a type of facility, for liability situation that was done in the way that you don't leave your gun in the car, they need to let you go in. So what happened in the county when you were not a supervisor yet, after we had a meeting that we pretty much were trying to ask questions to our supervisor at the time, many of people, especially in the rural America, in rural Mohave County, they are gun owners and they carry guns already, rangers. So we went there that day, and most of us, we were carrying guns like normally everybody does.
Right.
It created a sort of overreaction, in my opinion, and they passed the famous ordinance that
Yes, right.
And you can go ahead.
Well, I mean, when it comes from, this goes back to the imposing dress code and prohibiting speech, political speech they didn't like. Once you start doing that, you begin to view yourself as being in an adversarial relationship with the public. And if you're in an adversarial relationship with the public, are you really going to trust those people whose opinions you don't trust?
Perfect.
And so you're going to say, disarm yourselves. And that's what they did with the metal detectors and the lockers and all the rest of that. I've grown up in Arizona. I was born in Arizona. I'm a third-generation Arizonan. And when I was growing up as a kid in Phoenix, you would walk into a grocery store and see someone with a pistol on your hip. You don't see that much anymore. But there was never really any problems.
Yes.
when everybody's armed, most people tend to be very polite and respectful. Because I mean, if these school shootings which occur, they occur there because the kids and the teachers don't have weapons.
Exactly.
If you go into a place where there's 50 adults and half of them might be packing a pistol, that's not where you want to stage your rampage, because you aren't going to get very far.
Exactly.
So it's so I don't view people having weapons as being a problem.
Especially law-abiding citizen, because you know very well, law-abiding citizen, like for example, I respect and I would abide to your sign and whatever you want. If somebody is evil and is crazy, he's not going to read that sign. He's not going to. So I wanted to thank you because you went one step further. You guys, I mean, not just you, but also the other supervisor that supported this new ordinance. It wasn't just about pretty much create a climb of trust.
Right.
Because remember something, when they did originally the checkbox, I have a video, and I will talk about eventually next show. We'll talk with the president of the Arizona Citizen Defense League.
Right.
The county, he started to have a gun registration completely unlawful. With little video that they were tracking the number and keeping a data file and sending them somewhere in Phoenix. We didn't know where.
Right.
So the first day we went there, we took a little video YouTube, we sent it down to the legislators, and the governor in less than 50 days, with the help of legislators and activists, people from Arizona Citizen Defense League, with our little video, a new Arizona law was passed that completely outlaws for any county or city or municipality to do any type of gun registration. So they went deeper than that. It wasn't just about the checkbox.
And again, it goes back to the character of the people who are then running the county administration. It's those are not the type of people we want in charge of a free republic. And it wasn't just I'm a lawyer, and I did my law school review, because I was on law review when I was in law school, article on the Second Amendment, and I read a lot of history. But there's a lie that's perpetuated constantly. The lack of guns makes people safer, and that's a lie. Statistically speaking, England, you could have a pistol just like we could, more or less, all the way through the 19-teens. Then the House of Lords outlawed them, because they were outlawed it for all but a certain class of people, because they thought that the working class was in a state of rebellion. You had a lot of socialism and communist activists, and they wanted to suppress that. Then in the 60s, they got really heavy on gun registration and confiscation. It got even worse in the 90s, until essentially they have no rights anymore. The murder rate when England had guns in the private ownership and the people's ownership was actually lower than what they have now. It bounces up and down, but that bar, it was always 0.8 out of 100,000, 1 over 100,000, and now it's 1.2, 1.4, 1.5. So it's actually higher since they've outlawed guns. And this is another thing, and they always compare England's murder rate to the United States' murder rate, but they don't look at how they do their math. And the English murder rate is a lie. They only count convictions.
Yes.
You have to be convicted of murder, because the police officer in Arizona or the United States will say, okay, there's a person laying dead on the street, there's a bullet in him, we didn't do it. We don't know who did it.
So it's a gun.
But we know it's a murder, so we're counting that towards our murder rate.
It's a gun's fault.
In England, you have a body laying on the floor, there's a bullet in it, they can't find the person, and so in their theory is they really shouldn't prejudge whether it was murder or not.
Okay.
So they exclude that into their murder rate until they can figure out what happened. There was a serial killer in England a decade or two back, Dr. Harold Shipman, killed like 137 people over 30 years.
Wow.
They only counted his victims in the year he was caught. And so for all those decades, those dead bodies weren't included in his murder rate. And so the English murder rate is significantly underreported. And I've seen some, and it's really hard to put data together if you don't have it, but I've seen some numbers which indicate it may be as high as 2.6. There's something they do is called a narrative verdict, which means that the coroner doesn't want to call it murder because he's not allowed to, since they don't know who did it.
Yes.
But you can do a written explanation. And there's over 4,100 deaths last year in England. We got the narrative verdict, which would quadruple their murder rates if they're murders, but they're not all murders. Sometimes they're suicides.
Supervisor
like
Moss.
So I'm sorry.
No problem. I really enjoy the data.
Yeah,
It's important.
yeah.
But I would like also to get this from another point of view.
Sure.
You know? Let's say for a moment that the data, they're out there, make no sense. They are the same or whatever.
Right.
The point is, we cannot punish the rest of us for the mistakes or the crimes of one minority or one individual. That's the bottom line. Because, and the people that try to say, oh, if we can save one person, I don't care, because I'm not gonna give up my rights because of somebody else did a mistake.
I agree with you. And so I was saying, from a philosophical standpoint, we agree. But also from a logic and practical standpoint,
I agree.
It's an agreement. Our founding fathers were not dummies. Benjamin Franklin hit the nail on his head when he says people who would give up freedom for give up essential liberty for temporary safety deserve neither. He hit the nail on the head. These were very, very wise men who lived in the world, and they were intelligent, well-spoken, logical, well-thought-out, good men. They made the best system of government in the history of the world, and there is an effort to systematically dismantle it.
Exactly. And I want to thank you to bringing it back again, because, as I said, this is the only county that I found out in the States, or at least probably one of the few, that not only we just have the state law that you have to check your gun. Right. We went to a level of trust with the citizenship that is beautiful, because you really start to reopen the trust between government and citizen. And of course, it's a personal choice. People don't have to carry a gun, but at least we know that in Mohave County, we still have a Bill of Rights. And it's making news, by the way, because I have people that I know from California that they heard about that. They found out that on the NRA newsletter when this law was passed. And then, of course, when they heard about you guys doing what you did, reinstating the Second Amendment for law-abiding citizens, they say, oh my God, is this for real? I mean, it's really happening. It's almost, we're used to this, but it is not like this out there.
It is the trend is generally in the opposite direction.
Exactly.
We're trying to push back on our own little corner of the world. And I would like to solve the problems of the world, but that's beyond us.
And that's why we talk about what we can do here in our Mohave County.
We take care of our neighborhoods, our community, and we trust the rest of the world to fix their neighborhoods and communities.
And then another thing, we're talking about the Bill of Rights. The First Amendment for me is as important. The Second Amendment as important as the Fourth Amendment.
Correct.
You remember what was going on at the checkpoints, like at the airport we had in Mohave County. We've been X-rays.
I'm not familiar with this.
You didn't go, really?
I didn't go to Mohave County Airport. So I drive to Phoenix or Las Vegas.
No, I'm talking about like at the airport, but in Mohave County building.
The government building.
Yeah,
yes.
government building.
Right. I don't like that at all. It was kind of disrespectful, because they just assumed everyone who walked through the door was a potential criminal, and I did not like it. I do not like it. I thought it was completely unnecessary. You have armed security guards. If you trust the public, half of them are carrying a weapon.
Yes.
When I went there, we're doing our Board of Supervisor meetings. I kind of like the idea of knowing half the public sitting in that audience is probably carrying a pistol, because that means if a bad guy walks the door, I have that much security.
Yes.
You know, so I'm not uncomfortable with it. I don't like this whole concept that only the elite have security.
And I thank you for that again, because it's something, especially now that it's so even difficult to go in public places like, for example, airports, that you're treated like a criminal.
Right.
And people, trying to say, when you go to the, remember there was some sort of interaction with some county officer there, and he would say, hey, when you go to the court, what do you do? Normally to the courthouse, they go people that they are criminals, or they're allegedly criminals, and it's different, I guess, right?
That is correct. And a lot of times in the courthouse, you have convicted criminals.
Exactly.
And they know, and there's certain points where criminals can get contraband, incarcerated criminals. The courthouse is one of them. And the courthouse does sweeps regularly, the security staff, because the friends and families and the associates of these criminals, because some of them are convicted criminals, they literally tape guns underneath the juror's box, drugs, all sorts of contraband, and the court staff has an obligation to make sure that these guys aren't able to take this contraband, whether it's a weapon or a controlled substance, back to their facility.
Exactly.
Or worse, try to shoot their way to freedom.
Exactly.
And that's happened a few times in Mohave County.
So anyway, I want to say, sometimes, we always like to, can I say the word bitch on the air? I think so.
Complain.
Okay. But it's beautiful when we can finally say, thank you. It's a great feeling to have finally find something about that. So that's what I want to say officially. And like me, I know a lot of people out there, they think the same. Now, a little bit about you. You are the supervisor for District 5, right?
Correct.
Perfect. And first of all, do you enjoy your job? You having fun?
I do. I will say that it is not the job I expected to get when I won. I had a different concept, really. I thought it would be more sitting around crafting high policy and heady debates and all that. It's not that at all. It's mostly dealing with constituent calls and issues.
Okay.
Many of whom I can't deal with because we have a separated form of government. So I don't have all the power.
Yes.
Other branches have the power. But it's very nice to basically talk to my people. Go out to I visit people in their houses if they ask me to come out and they have an issue. I take their phone calls. I had a call. You see the movies where the lady's always calling someone about a cat that's stuck in a tree. I literally got that phone call. I picked up the line because my secretary was out to work, and I was like, I apologize, ma'am, but I'm not going to get my ladder and go get the cat out of the tree, but I will give you the number for animal control. Yeah. So I like it. It's very time consuming. You can help a lot of people in a lot of ways. It's not hard. I mean, I don't believe in saying, oh, it's a very deep, serious, steady job, and I lay awake at night agonizing over things. No, that's not the case.
What is
No.
What is your, for so far, the best accomplishment? Thank you that I say, wow, I'm glad that so far I've done this.
You just went through those.
Yes.
Right there. That's my favorite because what comes down to who are we as a people? And I think we've removed some of the poison from our community's soul, which was impacting our status as free people. And that's what I enjoy the most. What I'm working on now, which is my second favorite practical community project, we got the philosophical side, is we're getting a park built in Mohave Valley next to River Valley High School.
Okay.
Most of that I started before I became a supervisor. And we have got, I think it's $560,000 in private cash donations, over $1 million in material donations, tons of free labor. And that's starting now. It's ongoing. They're building it, and we're going to get some soccer fields, football fields, baseball fields, football fields, all the rest of it there. We're going to have walking trails and little ramadas, and it's going to be a great community park in Mohave Valley because Mohave Valley doesn't have one. And this is what I think was unusual about District 5. Is we produce the second most in property tax in Mohave County, Arizona. And we have about a grand total of 0 county parks.
Wow.
Compared to all the other communities out there. Then we have the second producer of library tax in Mohave County, Arizona. I think we have something like 2,000 square feet of library space compared to Bullhead's 32,000 and 28,000 in Lake Havasu.
Wow.
We're basically donating money to the municipalities is what it's doing, and it's time. The new system allows the people of District 5 and District 4 to say, hey, we produce property tax too. We deserve public benefits that are for the public purpose as much as the other people do. So either if they get it, we get it. If we're not going to get it, they shouldn't get it. It's fairness.
I understand.
Right. So I'm working on the park, and then I'm working on and that's almost done. The wheels are in motion.
Perfect.
And then the library, I want to expand the library services in the Mohave Valley, Fort Mohave area.
So these are new projects that you try to as a challenge.
Yes, I believe that roads, sidewalks, street lamps, libraries, parks, they tie communities together.
Perfect.
And we need to tie our community together. And that's the purpose of government is to do what an individual alone cannot do. And libraries and parks and street lights and all those things are things that a community generally can't do on its own.
I understand.
So I'm working hard in that direction. So first a park, then expanding the libraries, then I'll put another project on the plate.
Very good. So now listen, a little bit about yourself. Besides being a politician, even I don't want to use like a bad word. You've been like
that's all right. It is. It's the reputation of politicians is well deserved.
Statesman. Okay, I like to call it as a statesman and representing the people in Mohave County. And what are you as an individual, as a person? Tell me about you.
I'm in my middle 40s. I'm married. I've married the girl I went to high school with. We have 2 children. My eldest is my daughter, Mallory. She's 11. My son is just turned 9. They are straight A students. Both were advanced to grade in public school, so they're very, very smart. They're both all-star soccer players, and they're turning out to be they look like me, but they're acting just like their mother, so they tell me what to do a lot, and so, which I think is pretty normal, and it's going to be beneficial to them as they go on. I'm a third-generation Arizonan. My great-grandfather came to Arizona back, I think, in 1918. He was a Swedish immigrant, and he came, worked in Missouri for a number of years, married a lady, came to Arizona, started a construction company, which is still in business. It's Johnson and I think it's Cacrioli or something like that.
Okay,
in Phoenix.
interesting.
My second cousins still run it. It's one of the biggest construction companies
Wow.
in the state. Unfortunately, and they're all the tall one. They got the Swedish genes, blonde hair,
Okay.
blue eyes, very, very tall.
Are you blonde and blue eyes too? Right?
Yeah, but I'm not very, very tall.
Okay.
So I'm on the Moss side of the family. We got short and didn't get the company, which is probably better because those guys work really hard.
I have a song for you. Since you are one of the few that, a lot of people, they are here, but most of us, at least speaking for myself, we all immigrated to Arizona.
We're all immigrants.
I know, but, I really immigrated happily, not only from Italy, but from California. I was happy to find Arizona. But you are one of the few people that I know that is 3 generations. So I have a special gift for you, and it's a song that I wrote, I think about probably, a few years ago, and it's called I Love Arizona. Hopefully you like it.
State of the free, state of the free. I love Arizona, state of the free, state of the free. I love Arizona, where you can be what you wanna be. No more liberal garbage, no more social less red tape. There ain't no place like this state. We have the right to carry, we have the right to speak. Here guns are not free. True California. I love Arizona, state of the free, state of the free. I love Arizona, where you can be what you wanna be. Yes, we speak English, and yes, we believe in God. We love our country, and it says it all, says it all. Open blue skies, wild Colorado River rides, Grand Canyon and the desert. Yes, I love Arizona, state of the free, state of the free. I love Arizona, where you can be what you wanna be. You can find your home, you can find your heart in Arizona. You can find your way, you can find your dreams in Arizona. Arizona, Arizona, Arizona.
Here we go. This was I Love Arizona, music and lyrics by myself. And if you want to support the show, first of all, don't forget to support K-Talks, because this is a very unique radio. It needs your support. And the beautiful thing here, we have one thing all in common. We have freedom of speech. And I really always want to thank Mr. Deveis for the opportunity, even when we don't agree, but he always let me say whatever I want. So that's great. And so support K-Talks, give your donation. And if you want to support myself, very easy. Just get one of my songs. You can go to my website, lovegunsfreedom.com, 99 cents, and you can have all my songs you want. Now, that was for you, Mr. Supervisor, okay?
Okay,
I
awesome.
love Arizona, and I really do. I really
Yeah.
do. That's why I like to be here, because I think we have a chance to make it almost perfect. We are humans. There is no perfection in this world, but we can make it better than any other place in the world.
I believe that's true. I believe in Arizona and several of the western states that we have an opportunity, like Mohave County is pushing back. I believe in other counties there can be some pushback. We're still in a position where we can influence, not just at the county level, but also the state legislature level, where we can really push back and create and keep the Western freedoms, the Western values that our ancestors established, and which I think are being eroded in Europe. Where they
Perfect.
come from.
Now, let's go to another type of freedom. You know, the name of the show is Love, Guns, and Freedom, and we talk about beautiful things that we accomplish already on county property. Now, a little bit about state land, federal intrusion, and more important, about property rights. I have a generic question.
Sure.
Are you aware of Agenda 21? If I give you this keyword, does it say anything to you?
It tells that phrase, from my understanding of it, is a United Nations federal government push to regulate private property rights to such an extent that they become essentially worthless. They usually couch it in terms of environmentalism, public safety, things of that nature. But the whole thrust of it is to basically give government more power over what you do with your land, and even to potentially to the point where it's not even really your land anymore. So that's my interpretation of Agenda 21.
You're really right. I mean, you spell it out in a very simple word for the rest of the public that mostly already know, especially listening to this radio. It's true. And that's why you have a very important role, you like the other supervisors, because this is an implementation that starts from a global government but goes through our federal government, implemented to state and local. And you will see, for example, city like Flagstaff, it's already under ICLEI, I-C-L-E-I. That means it's completely Agenda 21. Okay, so it's there is a new name. Now they try to rename and rebrand it.
Right.
But whenever you see I-C-L-E-I, ICLEI, it's there is a list also on their website that you will see the beautiful thing that, being sarcastic, you have to join. It's not like they can force you. So they will try to bring people, good speakers, public relations, and letters to the editors, try to push between sugar and a gun that the county must use. And they always use these words that make sense, that sounds like some sort of, after all, makes sense. It's biodiversity, or they're going to start to say, some sort of ecologist thing that we all believe, especially people live here in this county.
Right.
We live off the ground, or the land, so nobody wants to destroy it, but they will try to make it look and sound like.
Right.
So anyway, I appreciate the fact that you already know. I see a lot, more than many other people that I know, talking about especially public people that work for the community. And also I would like to remind you, there is a book that I gave already to Supervisor Andrews last week. Please share it with her. It's just about Agenda 21. It's a lot of great information. It's a lady that wrote it, and she's an activist, and it's all good new information because it's going to come to you pretty soon.
I would love to read it, and just as soon as I can corner Hildy, which is tomorrow at the board meeting.
Perfect.
I will be asking her when she's done so I can have my turn.
Great. And that brings back all the different issues that I know you're already facing. We all face it, like, for example, the ECA with the endangered species of the wolves.
Right.
It is not about the wolf. It's about controlling the resource and the land.
I would agree with that in part because the plan, or at least the talking points that comes out of U.S. Game and Fish on the issue, is they want to make the Mexican gray wolf have a habitat that's just everything north of I-10 and south of I-40.
Okay.
And 80%, 90% of that land mass, the wolves can't survive in it. They can't
There
live
is
in
not
it.
enough resources.
Right. And when it comes to the Mexican gray wolf, the hint is in its name. 85% of the historic habitat of that wolf is in Mexico.
Yes.
There is a fringe band of territory around Greenlee and Apache in Navajo County where the wolf is able to survive in. Essentially, with the two exceptions, the 100 or so Mexican gray wolves will still live in the wild, is in those areas, not because we have protected them, but because the United States government in the 1960s eradicated the wolves. They did not exist in Arizona. They've since, in the early 80s, reintroduced them, and they're making the farmers and the citizens of those very rural areas absolutely miserable. There's a reason our ancestors got rid of them. They're dangerous. They're destructive of property, and they're risks to people. In the western side of New Mexico, where they also have a bit of habitat there, they've had it taken to, on the rural bus stops, chain link fencing and putting up so the children can be protected from the wolves which are stalking them.
If I can interrupt, Yeah, it's true. We don't have enough resources for the wolf to flourish, but it's not about that. The point is the principle, because the point is, first of all, maybe not affecting directly so much Mohave County like Apache County.
Right.
The point is, nobody's afraid of wild animals. I respect wild animals, but the point is, if I am not able to protect my property, because it's not just another wild animal that would have a natural interaction like we have with coyotes or any other animal, they would be under ECA, Endangered Species Act. That means I cannot really defend any pets, any calves, any animals, or any property. The only thing I may have is to defend my life. But I still have more problem to demonstrate that I was in the lawful way.
If you shoot a wolf, the full weight and power of the federal government will fall about your shoulders.
Exactly.
You may eventually prove your innocence, but you'll be halfway to being bankrupt by the time you do. It's not a good situation. I really think they need to introduce the Mexican gray wolf in Mexico. Each of the wolves which currently exist in the wild of the United States has cost the federal government $364,000.
Oh my gosh.
That's the average cost to keep the wolves going in the wild. If we put those 100 wolves in Mexico, they would probably have a better chance of flourishing. Now, the reason it doesn't happen is because the farmers and ranchers of Mexico aren't particularly as law-abiding as the United States farmers and ranchers, and they shoot them in Mexico. You can make a law, but they keep on trying to reintroduce them in Mexico, and the farmers and ranchers keep killing them.
Okay, at least I see the phone is ringing, but before we go there, I would like to start to connect now to the probably one of the things that in my dreams I wish we could achieve in the next few maybe months. That's kind of a dream, but let's say even years. Property rights.
Yes.
Okay? Property rights. Normally people that move to Mohave County, they live behind big cities or crowded states, and they like the place, open space, the opportunity to buy affordable land and to build a little space. Now, first of all, I would like to go with you with the definition of property rights from somebody that I think is an expert in this matter. His name is Washington State Supreme Court Justice, Mr. Richard Sanders, and this is a Fifth Amendment treatise that was pretty much done by the 12/10 of 1997. And he writes, property in a thing consists not merely in its ownership and possession, but in the unrestricted right of use, enjoyment, and disposal. Anything which destroys any of the elements of property, to that extent, destroys the property itself. The substantial value of property lies in its use. If the right of use be denied, the value of the property is annihilated, and ownership is rendered a barren right. Now, hopefully my pronounce was enough to explain.
No, you did a very good job.
Okay.
And I think he hit the nail on the head. He did a very good explanation of it.
So I would like to make it all this in practical example, okay?
Right.
That's your water, right?
You gave it to me. It's a gift.
Okay, it's yours. Now it's yours, okay?
All right.
Can I please get some?
Sure, absolutely.
Okay, thank you. Because that's yours. I'm asking you the permission, okay?
Right.
Now, this is my cell phone.
Right.
Would you like to use my cell phone?
If I would ask you first and get your permission.
It's because it's mine.
Yes.
So that's yours, that's mine.
Right.
Now, back to our county little households.
Okay, all right.
I live on, let's say, 4 acres, okay?
Okay.
Enough to say that I don't create any type of dangers to my neighbors.
Right.
When it comes down to structural buildings, okay? It's not like New York. It's not like big cities that we live on top of each other. So I know that on my little land, if I build something that is not correct, nobody's going to pay the consequences, okay? When it comes down to at least to safety issues.
Right.
The land is private. That means it's not commercial. There is no liability with the public. Second condition.
Right.
Number 3, everything's paid. The bank out of the game. It's completely everything cash paid.
Right.
So supposedly, I really supposed to own, because the bank is not in the middle. I don't have anybody else but the property taxes that will go there another time.
Sure.
That for me rent, but it's another story.
Okay.
Let's go now to the thing. Why? If that's really mine, and I want to do, for example, one thing I was really a little bit of shocked, like last week, if I want to build a solar power system on my roof, it's supposed to be my house, I need to call the county and ask for a permit and pay for a fee to use the sun, the power of the sun. So why?
I'll give you the theory, and I'll give you the history, and then I'll give you the theory. In Mohave County, up until 1965, the year of my birth, there was no permitting at all required. You do whatever you want, whenever you want, and nobody made any rules which would impact you. In 1965, they instituted what's been called the zoning permit. It wasn't a building permit because it had nothing really to do with construction. It just made sure that you abided by setbacks before fire hazards, and the fire department can get in and get people out from side windows, things like that. In the 1980s, they began in what they call urban zones to require residential building permits, and they excluded rural zones from that requirement. The distinguishment between urban zones and rural zones was abolished in 2007, and now everybody requires a permit. The theory behind that's the history of Mohave County in a very short nutshell.
Yes.
The theory behind the permitting process is not necessarily Luca Zanna building a house that he wants to live in. And if you want to live in a teepee that's on your property, that's your business. You can do that. It's to preserve the property and to protect the consumer in the event that Luca Zanna builds a house. It's not particularly very good, but it looks good on the outside. And some unknowing consumer comes in, buys it, and then discovers that the foundation's cracking and heaving and the walls are shifting in and all that. And and Luca Zanna is nowhere to be found. I'm not picking on you.
No, I understand. I understand.
That's the theory of it. Now, is it right? That's a very debatable proposition. That quote that you read by the Supreme Court Justice would be somewhat on point in that the county isn't telling you can't use your property, but they're telling you that if you want to do something with your property, you need to pay a fee and you need to submit to an inspection. So it is creeping down that road that you've discussed. And Texas, for example, no zoning. Anywhere in Texas, you can do whatever you want, build whatever you want, anywhere you like in Texas. I kind of like that concept. So between the building permit process and the zoning regulations, there is a limitation of your property rights.
Perfect. And I always say, that's a great answer, but maybe there is a middle way.
Sure.
For example, I understand the county trying to be wary or try to somehow keep some sort of a quality control on potential new buyers. But after all, it's called free. If there is a free market,
correct.
I, as a homeowner, that I want to eventually one day resell my property, it is my interest, my economic gain, to be sure that my house has all the rubber stamps, from the county, because when I want to sell it, just to let you know, look, I had done everything by the book, but it's my choice. Because at that point, it's going to be also the choice of the new buyer to decide.
Right.
When I would like to buy a house from Mr. Zanna that he builds without any type of permits, or from somebody that can prove me that everything's been done according to the county gospel.
And you are very persuasive, and I more than half agree with you on that. My view is, to some degree, that if you're financing a house, the bank is going to want to make sure that financing a house that you're building, the bank's going to want to make sure that it's in good condition and resellable, because you may default on your note. And if you default on your note, they're going to wind up owning it, and they're going to have to resell it.
That's why I said the condition number 2 was I am paying everything cash. No banks are involved.
Sure. And with all that, I think, as you said earlier, the free market may have a method of taking care of that. But, and here's a but. When it comes to, let's say you have a house, well, even that wouldn't work. I mean, Luca, your argument is pretty good. I'm going to have a hard time.
Hey, I'm almost lawyer.
Yeah. I will tell you this. In my personal world, what I try to do when I'm looking at decisions, I look at the philosophy.
Yes.
And my philosophy agrees with you. And then I also look at the practical consequences, the logical consequence. And if the two of them agree, it's a happy world.
Supervisor, I'll give you something that you should be thinking with the other supervisor, because I know that you are all good people and at least you mean the best. Sometimes we may not agree on everything, but I always try to do the best according to your judgment and knowledge.
Right.
We have an opportunity in Mohave County to go towards a new trend of freedom that pretty much is going to be completely the opposite where this country is going to. I mean, you already started the process to bring in the Bill of Rights, the First Amendment, the Second Amendment, the Fourth Amendment. I mean, it's amazing. I really think I'm blessed to be living here, and I really appreciate it. This would be something from economic also point of view, because we need really to try to bring people here with money, try to get the economy going, because we're really suffering, you know.
And I think if we modified zoning or eliminated zoning and building permit regulations, you probably would see an economic boom of some sort.
Think about, and I'm not saying, you know, we have, of course, you need to always try to keep the situation balanced. You want to try to keep the safety for the public. I was talking about very specific situation, like we have private, not public, that means it's not commercial. Talking about somebody that can pay in cash everything, so there is no any type of liability towards the banks or anybody lenders. And at that point, it's your responsibility. And as we know, with freedom comes responsibility.
And everything you said strikes a chord. I'm not committing because even though I agree with you on a philosophical standpoint, there's something in me that says I need to look into this a little more because I had practical concerns and you just demolished them. Okay.
No, I understand.
But before I commit, I have to make sure I sleep and think on
things. But as I said, you know,
it's a good idea.
You want to give the option. It's called always. We don't want to use violence. We want the government. So far, we've been trained that is always about coercion.
Right.
I would like to use the government that is my friend that can give me an option to improve things. So I would like to call, hey, Mohave County inspection, please come here because I really want your help.
Right.
Because I want to be sure that when I sell this house, it's going to look like everything was done correctly. I pay you for the fee like I would buy any other service from another businesses, and it's my option.
Well, there's something that lends weight to your argument that you haven't raised, is when the building inspector shows up to inspect that there is a framed wall with 2-inch plywood or whatever they're having there. That's not a guarantee the work was done correctly.
I know.
All they're doing is saying, there is certain number of nails per inch and the concrete is poured. They're not attesting to the workmanship or that it conforms to plans and specifications. They're just collecting a fee and saying, you have a plywood wall there.
Let's dream for a second.
Okay.
This is going to be the only county, maybe one day, where private ownership is going to go back to the principle we used to have. I don't think Thomas Jefferson used to ask any permission to build a house.
No, he did what he wanted.
Exactly. So I would like to go back to that type of America. So it's a dream. Right. And I wanted to do some headlines for the news, you know, like move to Mohave County, Arizona, where you are not a slave anymore and you really own your property.
Well, that'd be a good tagline.
Okay. Or another one, move to Mohave County, Arizona, where the Bill of Rights is still alive.
I like that one the best.
Okay.
I like that.
Think about it, you know, because now there is also fear. I have a lot of friends in the Golden Valley that they've been having nightmare stories with trespassing, and I call them trespassing, without warrant. We still have a constitution. I don't care if you work for the county or not. You still need to have a lawful warrant.
Correct.
They come on private property and harass the hell out of the owners for things that they really make no sense. People living on 40 acres that they're trying to make a little shack for their cows, and they got level of pain and misery trying to also being threatened to have law enforcement come after them. I mean, it's really serious. So the power they receive now, the government bureaucrat achieve in the last few years from something that's supposed to be to defend the consumer, like you said, now it's become an act of tyranny and abuse of power, in my opinion.
If there is a homeowner or a business owner who's having problems with the zoning department or the building department, and they think it's unjust, they really do need to speak to their supervisor. Most of us are very, very good about engaging and trying to protect our constituents. We can't solve every problem, but we can solve some problems. So if that's going on, I can say contact your supervisor, and they can help you on many occasions.
Anybody there on the line? Because I think I got it too late. Anyway, I appreciate your answer, and I appreciate your opening at least to talk about this, because that's all we're trying to do now. We try to use logic, and I know that you're a person always been faithful to your principle of defending the Constitution and Bill of Rights, and I think this is another opportunity you can at least look into it, you know.
Right. And thank you for that. And I will look into it, and I will ask around, and I will, if you want to speak to me again about it, either on the show or outside the show, I'm willing to debate any issue anywhere.
Perfect.
I don't always promise to agree.
No.
But because I have to, sometimes it takes me time to mull things over my mind.
And as I said, you know, we don't need to agree on everything. For example, sometimes I already know that we have some topics that we don't agree, but I don't care, because all I care now that we try to do our best to communicate, to find a solution that we can all agree, and more important, in a respectful way, and And also, I would like to focus on topics that will really pertinent to the county, because we can talk about federal government, and maybe we also may agree, or other personal choices or other topics. But this is your county, and this is it's our county, but you are the steward, and that's what you can do, work in our county.
I can assist you and the other citizens of Mohave County with the county government. The federal government's out of my league, unfortunately.
I understand. That's why I like to focus on this topic. Let's see if I can get this call. Okay,
Sure.
1 second. Caller, are you there? Hello? I'm always too late. Anyway, I think it's better like that, because we can. I would like to give you 1 second the opportunity to share a message, short message, with your constituents. We live here. This radio is pretty much perfect for your area, because it's all Fort Mohave and, of course, also Bullhead. So people that normally would vote for you. Whatever you want to say to them.
Well, I mean, if it's a statement as to my personal philosophies, I do believe I work for my constituents. I can only do for them what is within the scope of my powers, but as long as it doesn't violate my conscience, as long as it doesn't violate the Constitution, as long as it impacts in a positive way the economic prosperity of Mohave County, I will work very hard for them in that regard.
Perfect.
If it violates my conscience, or it's going to be detrimental to the economic prosperity of Mohave County, I will tell them that I'm not going to help you with this. And I will. So what it boils down to is, you may not like me, or you may not agree with me, but I will do my best to tell you the truth. And sometimes the truth is, I don't know. Or sometimes the truth is, give me time. And sometimes the truth is, here, let me make a phone call. I can take care of that for you right now.
Okay. I have a little message. We're trying to help the community with activities that they pretty much, we share the same beliefs. The show is called Love, Guns, and Freedom. So we talk about freedom so far, and we talk about love too, because this is a form of love. Try to help our own fellow man to regain our own freedoms. I think this is our commitment. Now it's about guns. This is from a church, a local church from Kingman, I guess. It's called the River of Life Church, and they will be hosting the NRA Basic Pistol Shooting Course on Friday evening, November the 22nd at 6 p.m. The range portion will be Saturday morning. Anyway, it's an incredible opportunity.
Where's this located at?
And this is going to be in Golden Valley, the class, but the course is 8 hours. And if you want to ask for more information, the person in charge, by the way, is a pastor. Okay, so I like pastor with gun. It's pretty cool.
I do too.
Okay, and his name is, let's see here 1 second. First of all, let's get his phone number. That's the most important thing. 928-234-2481. Okay, this is from this class for it's called Basic Pistol Course. And what they're going to teach you is going to be knowledge, skills, safety, to be safe in handling the firearms. And this is a prerequisite for the other NRA pistol courses. So it's a great opportunity. And on top, you're going to help in this way this church, the River of Life Church, that is located 939 Hancock Road. Maybe it's Bullhead. I'm not even
If it's on Hancock, it's definitely in Bullhead.
Yeah, I think it's Bullhead. Anyway, call the guy, okay, 928-234-2481, and let's check it out, okay?
Can you make sure I get that number before I leave?
I'm going to give it to you.
Because November 22nd is my son's tryouts for the All-Star soccer team, and he'll make it.
Yes.
But if it occurs during the day, I might have time to attend it.
Excellent,
Yeah.
excellent.
Well, I like taking refresher courses. I was in the Marine Corps. I grew up shooting, all the rest of it. And I have my CCW permit and all that. Though I don't carry, but I like having the right to carry.
Excellent.
Even if I go into other states on occasion. But it's a good idea every year or two to take a refresher course, because just any other skill, it gets rusty.
Perfect. So listen, at this point, I would like to thank you again for everything. And I would like to, since we've been talking about guns a little bit, I have sometimes I go a little bit in debate with Mr. Hayes. And they say, oh, you carry a gun because you're afraid. Hey, Dave, are you there? And, I've been thinking about that. And no, that's the opposite. Exactly the opposite. Because people don't need to carry a gun because they're afraid. I mean, I'm a human being. Yes, I have feelings. So I understand I'm not hero. I'm not G.I. Joe. I'm a guy that fear is part of your component. I don't carry a gun because of fear. I carry a gun, normally more than one, because I have no fear. No fear to face evil, no fear to save a life, no fear to defend liberty and to defend my country and my fellow Americans